Hello, everyone. I think we're good to go. Everything looks good on my end, so thumbs up there. Welcome to The Weekly Dig, where we talk about anime old and new. If you haven't seen the show before, these are my wondrous co-hosts, John.
Konbanwa mina.
And Steve.
Hello. Hola, ¿qué tal?
And as you can see from the big red box up there, we're talking about Serial Experiments Lain, episodes 11 and 12, near the end.
Thank God.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful, but a painful beauty.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slog. It's an enjoyable slog, but it's a slog. Wow.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit.
Yep. So, episode 11 has my favorite episode title of all time, in pornography. Which,
yeah.
Boy, if that doesn't describe half the internet, what does? And it opens with this very interesting image, because it doesn't have the same, all the others have had just this blue text background. And here they're actually layering on all the different episode titles in there, which makes one wonder what's coming up. And turns out, we get, after some images of Lain, we get an AMV. Basically.
Yes, we do. Which was like, I was expecting Jimi Hendrix along the Watchtower. And I'm just like, wow, dude, I'm going places with this show now. Woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. Visually very interesting. Very, it was, at least as far as I could tell when I wasn't having like a, psychotropic problem, it looked like it was a recap.
Yeah, that's like the thing.
Recaps the whole show.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And that was the thing. When I was watching, it's like, okay, it's a clip show, basically, right? They're doing the classic thing that mecha shows do, where partway through we're going to recap the show. But then I've forgotten, as we go through all of this, we then see Lain going home with Chisa.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure we had never seen before. So they're layering in new imagery and new elements into it, so you gotta watch out.
Yeah.
I was
I like the sepia tone they used with that to give it the air of nostalgia, or of that it occurred some time ago. It's like it didn't really occur that long ago, but I get where you're going with this.
Feels like a long time ago.
Oh yes, we've been through so much.
We definitely have been.
So when it started, and it took me by surprise that and it's not a short.
No, it goes on.
Montage. It goes on for a long time. So as it was going on, I realized that we're getting recaps with some other stuff being slipped in there. I'm watching this, and I'm like going, "Oh, great! I get to relive that again, and that again. Oh God, why did I have to remember that? Thank you for bringing that one up, and thank you for that." And going through all that, and I was just like going. But by the end of it, it was like going, okay, so half the episode was over, and just about, or a third. And I was just kind of like, wow, if I had been watching Lain, it was almost as if this was done on purpose. Like you were watching Lain, and the creators were just like going, we are abusing the psyches of our viewers so badly that they're going to probably at some point just go, walk away. And then they're going to come back and they're going to be lost, because honestly, you would be lost if you walked away. You didn't have anything that had you back in. And I just liked how the clips that they chose really did jog, unfortunately, in some cases, jog your memory into going, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened. And you can catch yourself back up. And then for those of us who are going through this on a weekly basis, it's just more just like, please take that 2 bar for hit me again. I like it. Thank you, sir. I have another.
Well, imagine, this aired every week at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Imagine stumbling on this episode on TV. What am I watching?
Oh yeah, that would be okay. I've never seen it before. Oh, Lain, what's this thing, Lain? Okay, let's watch this. Oh my God,
episode 11. Oh boy.
Yeah, it definitely throws you in. We get a lot. It actually surprised me, and I hadn't noticed this until this walkthrough again. Is that we see the delivery guy? Out doing delivery, and again, I don't know if we'd seen this shot before of him just sort of staring up. I think he's just at the door.
Well, they did. That's the shot from when he delivers Lane's upgraded
upgraded.
Navi.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And because he's like looking at the address, and he's like, huh?
Okay.
And it's like, I guess that should be an indicator to us. It's like, why would Yasao, who might, be maybe a name that guy recognizes somewhere in the world of computers, if he's a Navi nerd,
True.
he'd be, I could understand him looking at the address and being like, why would this guy order that? Like, this is a weird delivery.
It's also interesting because that clip, and I'll switch back to it real quick. It comes during this sort of rapid fire image of all of the men in Lane's life. You see Carl, you see Yasuo, you see him, you see JJ at the club.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting. Oh yeah, like she has these various guys that she interacts with over the course of the show.
So I actually had to stop and rewind it and then go make a determination. Go, okay, no, that's not right. But my initial thought was when it went from Carl to JJ at the club, I was like, are they the same guy?
Oh, interesting.
Because but Carl's beard is more full, whereas JJ's got Van Dyke.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So at first I was like, oh
yeah,
is
good
he
call.
the same guy? And I was just like,
Maybe it's Squiggy. No. Boy, wouldn't that be a freak out? Holy crap.
Yeah, so we get all this stuff going through the show, as you say, reminding us kind of what's going on, and then we sort of transition, as you were saying, out of that, and it really becomes all about Alice.
Excessively so.
Yeah, but it's interesting how like it really is. Alice becomes kind of that theme all the way through the show. We've seen all these various stuff, but Alice has been, the rock of Lane's life all the way through this.
Alice has been like the normal female character in her life.
Exactly.
Unlike Mika and unlike her pseudo mother. Like, here we go.
Yep, exactly. And it really underscores kind of why Lane's doing everything she's doing. The whole thing with the rumors and so forth.
Yeah.
That connection to that person. And then we come back to Lane, and as we remember, this is how we ended the last episode. Is Lane with all the wires clipped to her.
Yeah.
And
all the rotting food and cup noodles.
Yeah.
Like, Lane physically is deteriorating. I mean, mentally she's dealing with a lot of stuff. And physically she's just not doing real good.
And which is clearly kind of the theme here, is that the body doesn't matter, so who cares?
Yeah. Just fuel it with whatever you can do and keep it moving.
Yeah, exactly.
Boy.
And so, Lane's doing her thing. And I'd forgotten, actually, getting back into this episode, that this is kind of where we had seen her before. And so that whole sequence is basically her, as Eri says here, she's basically connecting herself directly to the wired and just pulling all the information all the time.
Yeah. Now that she's downloaded a Navi into her brain.
Yeah, some kind of experimental Navi. Yeah.
Wow. I thought it was interesting that, like, it'll be probably the next scene or two, but you see the outside of Lane's room where you have the homunculus sort of hanging off the wall. I don't know why, but the way the window panes look remind me of Yasuo's glasses.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
Just like, I'm like, oh, so is this...
Yeah.
He set her up. The wires are coming in. He set her up for this, and this is like his. Even though he and Eri were part, this was their thing.
Yep.
It's like Yasuo was the one that was still alive to bring this project to fruition. So all of these things that you're looking at are all under his aegis.
That's a great call.
Oh, God, jeez.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think.
Yasuo, I think you're rather sinister in that.
Yeah, and to further bolster that, there's really only one big pain, in Lane's room. So there's no reason for another light to be on except symbolically, right?
Yep.
That totally makes sense. There's a great image here, and I don't think I'll be able to find it. I will go back a little bit. Maybe they can go forward. Is it up here? No, I don't think so. It's an image of the world.
That was early on. where it's like all hazy kind of world.
Not that one. It's an image of the city, basically.
The future city.
Jersey.
Nope,
yeah.
nope, not that.
Nope.
It's an image of the city with all the cables over in front of it, overlaid on it, like a spider's web. It's a really perfect encapsulation of how the Wired is kind of layered on everything and kind of pulling people in. But oh well.
It connects and traps.
Exactly. Yep. One of those clever visual images that's kind of there and you miss it, I think. Yeah, and then things get creepier.
As if.
Right. As Lain goes outside and sees Chisa, and we get a scene that confused the heck out of me when I first watched it. Lain sees Chisa and has this conversation. I understand now. Right? I see why he committed suicide, basically. That all makes sense. And then the guy from the club shows up with a gun. And basically says, well, why don't you just,
Just do it.
Just do it, exactly.
Just give up the flesh. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I didn't know until fairly recently is that one of these scenes in the Lain PlayStation 1 game is of Lain walking along the road with a plastic bag. She gets to an overpass. She opens the plastic bag and pulls out a gun, puts it to her mouth. The camera pans up and we hear a gunshot. Yeah.
It was years ago, but I've seen that.
Yeah. And so I think this is almost an Easter egg for players of the game to say, is she going to do it? Is it going to happen? Like it happened before. It could happen this time.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was looking at this thinking, there's no way. Like, she's not at that point yet. Like, why would they even suggest that? It's like not really a reasonable ask. But
well, at this point, seeing that Chisa shows up and seeing the way Chisa is acting, and the way that she's interacting with Lain, and then this dude shows up, it's like you've got the split moment.
Yeah.
Chisa looks a lot like she regrets what she's done.
Yes, absolutely.
Giving up the flesh was not a great thing on for her experience. And this dude is like, the devil's advocate, the other side of that story, where it's like, oh, no, just give it up, man. It's much better. Just give up the flesh. Just here's a gun.
Demon and the angel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like that's what Lane's coping with is which choice to make.
Which is funny because did we get Taro just before this? That's an interesting question. No, we did not. He comes later on. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And you could even argue that Lain, because, I mean, let's be honest, Lane's out in the street wearing a shift. So I don't know that she's physically out in the street or not, or if this is she's just thinking things through, or this is symbolic or whatever. But I think you totally see it as Lain thinking through her alternatives, of saying there's the Chisa side of things, and there's the crazy guy in the club side of things.
Right.
Which is right. So we have this question as she is thinking through the implications, and then we get this shot of the spires.
Yeah. Which I took to be the future city. It's like this is what will look like if you take the Wired to its logical extension.
I think that totally works. I thought it might be basically a symbol of the towers are basically the Wired. There are nodes on the Wired, where the lumps are basically the lumps of flesh of humanity. Humanity just kind of spread out everywhere with the Wired over top of it, spread out, sending all the information back and forth. I also like the Future City idea. I think that also totally connects as well.
It's Tron.
Yeah. It actually, I think it actually does have a very Tron-like feel. The lights going back and forth. And then back to the real world with Alice and her iMac.
And her three nicely
placed
cushions,
pillows.
which would be presumably for Juri and for Reika.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But there's no fourth pillow.
No, there is not. Right, because things have been strange.
Yes.
And they will get strange.
Because guess who shows up but the red and green striped, sweatshirted alien
Lain.
Who also is Lain. This is one of the powers of animation, I think, because the juxtaposition of those two things, like, there's nothing from a drawing perspective that makes that hard to draw, so you just draw Lane's head on this alien's body. But we see it, we're like, no, shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Well, I just love the build-up where they show the sweater, and you're just like, wait, Alice is going to see this thing now? Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus, what the hell? And then it's Lane's face and the gray hand and the gray foot, and you're just like, oh, my head hurts. And then, but for me, when I was watching it, and I don't know if this was intentional or it was just a mistaken perspective, but it seemed like at one point Lane's head was bigger than it should have been for the body.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but it felt like it was on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, just showing just how odd all this is.
Yeah.
And that she's using the alien. It's an interesting choice instead of using her complete self to come to Alice and say, hey, this is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to make good because you're my
fixing
friend.
it.
Fixing
Mm-hmm.
it. But you show up with this like hybrid alien body in an ugly green sweater and your big ass head on it. And I don't know how you would expect a rational conversation to happen.
Exactly. And I suspect if we're being sort of, rational and logical about how, the way all this might work, is that Lain can now physically move around in the physical world. But she hasn't quite got the knack of it yet. And so a little bit like in The Wired, some folks can only be an eye or an ear. She can do the head, but she can't do the entire body. So she's taking this sort of mass hallucination of the alien and kind of using that as the halfway thing.
She's using it as the conduit to get in to speak with Alice. But
Exactly.
jeez, what a conduit!
Yeah, exactly.
Really? It couldn't have been Elvis's ghost,
Right.
Come on.
Although, granted, if we take the alien as metaphor for, alienation, literally being disconnected, like it does fit. So,
That, and I like the way that when she starts to emerge from shadow, she has a rather sinister look on her face.
Yes.
Where you're just kind of like, and then when her face is fully revealed, like that shot.
Yeah.
It looks really menacing. And then when she fully reveals her face, she has a really pensive look, very, very sort of quiet and small look.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, interesting.
It's fascinating because they're really playing with the fact that what Lain is doing is weird. And you should be weirded out by it, but she has the best of intentions.
Yeah. And because nothing else that happened before this was weird.
Right, exactly.
Everything up to this point has been totally normal.
Yeah. Basically,
boring almost.
Yeah. Totally. And Alice has her bit of a freak out. And then we do get the discovery, which I actually this happened beforehand. When Juri finishes the call and says, all these lies, and she goes, but they're not lies. Yeah. So that's a thing that they kind of throw at you in this particular thing. It was also interesting, actually, now that I'm looking at this image of Alice and the three cushions, there is a place for Lain. There's just no cushion there.
Just no cushion.
Yeah,
sort of like
interesting.
when Lain was in the classroom and there was the desk.
Yep. Interesting.
Lain can be there, but she's just not allowed to be comfortable.
Yeah, pretty much.
She makes everyone uncomfortable right now, so it's fitting.
Totally. And actually, to that point, our next scene is Alice going to school and finding out that no one remembers. And then Lain shows up, and boy, is Alice creeped out by Lain.
Yep.
In fact, you even see, and I'll see if I can find a place to pause it. You get Alice. You get a shot of these like knocking knees, and somebody clenching their school case, and I wasn't sure what it was. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to find it. But it's Alice who is afraid, because Lain has her thing on her back. Alice is the one clenching her thing, and so
Her kaban.
So Alice is now scared of Lain and what Lain has done. And to your point, Lain's expression is not creepy. She's just like, I did this thing. Okay? Are we okay now?
Yeah, I made everything correct. I made everything right. It's all good, right? Nobody remembers anything except for you and me.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, you can live with the knowledge that I can do crazy crap that should scare the hell out of you.
Yep.
Hey, we're all good. Cool. Don't make me send you to the cornfield.
You're right.
Oh,
yeah. And that's where
And this is about the point where, if you were Alice, you kind of have to wonder, is Trunk-kun available?
Right.
But what would happen if Truck couldn't hit Lane? That would
I was thinking
that would remove the physical aspect of Lane, but it would not stop Lane. Like, oh no.
No, I was thinking more for herself. Just
Yeah.
Oh, for the run out.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'll just go. I'm checking out.
Yep.
See ya.
Yep.
I think you could get a really cool
play that.
apocalyptic scene if you had that. Where Lane's like, hey, Alice, I fixed everything. It's all good. There's no problem.
Yeah.
Like, and then she'd have to remake reality.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Exactly.
wow.
I am. That's.
Just wait.
Great.
Great babe.
So we go from that to the next episode, Landscape. Where by this point, by the way, the audio that we hear is completely distorted all to pieces. We basically can't hear any of what's going on in the world at this point. But the buzzing is just as loud.
Yeah. We also missed the part about when Aries talking to Lane and she asks whether she's a machine or not.
Oh, right.
And he goes to that part where he says that she's a piece of software, an executable program with a body.
Yep.
Like, that's a...
That's a machine.
I would have thought that was hardware.
Well, I think his point is that she is software regardless of her hardware. She can put that
regardless of the
software
body
anywhere.
that she has. Okay,
yeah. At least that's what I assume. And it kind of goes back to that idea of Eri is the software guy, Yasuo is the hardware guy.
Right.
And so, whatever, hardware, doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
As we'll
We
see.
can run this on a PS4. We can run
Exactly.
this on a Trash 80. Yeah, we can run this on anything.
Pretty much.
And then we get that little clip of Tachibot has mapped the entire human genome.
Human genome. Yeah.
And I'm like going, oh, there we go.
There we go. Exactly.
They plug the entire human genome into... Well, never mind. What? Sorry? Let's all love Lane.
Yes.
Love Lane.
Let's
White.
love
Love
Lane.
Lane. Love Lane.
Wow. Lover's Lane? No, that's a different thing.
So we get various stuff here of Alice creeped out in class, with Lane now interacting and happy.
Yeah.
I wonder if this isn't also something Lane did. That when Lane changed everything, she also changed reality to make everyone a little more accepting of her.
There's a solid chance.
Because suddenly now Lane is, chatting away and not having a problem with that.
Well, it harkens back to that time when Lane's like, I'm me, and the other Lane steps out and then goes and is laughing with Alice and Jury and Rika, and they're all having fun. It's like, it harkens back to that where it's now like Jury and Rika are like, hey, this is great, how fun, we're all together. Like, oh, this is so unnatural.
Yeah. And again, in fairness, we had seen the two of them warm to Lane over time, but certainly not to this level.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that Alice looks at Lane. Alice gets a text. She looks down. She reads the entire text, looks up, and Lane is still looking at her. It's like, how did you send the O?
Yeah. Well, there's a point in there they say that like interfaces are no longer necessary. And it's like, yep, Lain is beyond her like souped up Navi phone conglomeration. Now she just thinks it, and the thing is,
Boom.
yeah.
Why do the kids get this?
Yeah, and here's the thing with Taro and the weird VR glasses, and Taro going, "Hey, I guess an angel."
Yeah.
Define angel.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, now is when I get to flex.
Uh-oh.
You say that's all low lane.
Ooh. Wait a minute.
Wait.
It's blanket out and you can pop it back in.
Oh. It's the cell of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep, that's.
Oh.
I'll show it a bit better later, but yeah, I actually have, and it actually comes with the. I wonder if. See, now we know Lain is fiction because otherwise this would pop in, and you'd see it perfectly.
It blinks in and
Right.
disappears. Ah, dang, that's cool.
Yeah, so this is one of the few. Lain was a mostly digital coloring anime. There are very few cells of it. So that I got like in 2003 for like $225.
Wow.
But yeah, let's all love Lain. I love Lain.
Lovely.
Exactly. But yeah, and here's where I believe, and because we get these clips of Lain like on the blue background, just sort of looking around, kind of confused. I believe this is what Yoshishi Abe animated. We mentioned this earlier on, where the character designer was told by the producer, you should animate one shot just so there's a little bit of you in the show itself. You know, actually, you know, your hand is shown in the anime, and I especially think it's this because. No complaint, but it's kind of generic. It's just kind of a character looking around a little bit. Right? There's not a lot of direct. You know, they has to be doing things. Yeah, I believe that is Abe right there.
And while it's interesting, it doesn't add nor detract
Right.
from whatever else is going on. So
yeah, it doesn't have a job to do the way other things do. Yeah, and then the news report. That's all love Lain. Which is interesting because I think it does do a good job of getting across how the real world and the wired are merging and things are not connecting properly. And then more montage of things as Lain is wondering what's going on. And then we jump cut to a parking lot, basement.
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, remember when I said the first time that car showed up, and I said there was a red dot,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, I thought somebody was smoking in the car." And then they have this scene. I'm like, "Did I just remember that?" From
Yeah.
I'm like,
Could be.
"Oh, maybe I did." I'm overlapping my own memories with the Wired. No.
There we go. Hey. But I think it was very clever of connecting us to the Men in Black without having them actually have the things on, because they wouldn't have them on in this scene.
Right.
But that's how we kind of do that. And then realizing what's going on. I also want to call out, just from a pure animation perspective here, props to whoever drew this scene. Because imagine trying to draw a car based on the reflections it is getting from headlights in a parking garage and still make it look like a car. Right? Like, it is hard to just get across with these few lines and angles that you're looking at a Mercedes. And they do a surprisingly good job of getting that across with just a little bit of shine and so forth and so on. Especially on a show that doesn't have a huge amount of budget.
And Mercedes was too cheap to pay.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's clearly a Mercedes. It's just they have a triangle logo.
Yeah. Slightly off. It's an homage to a Mercedes.
Exactly. Yes. And so we find out
The
the
creepy Tachibana Labs guy.
Yep.
Yay.
Their client, who totally sells them down the river.
Yeah.
You now know.
Oh yeah.
But it is interesting how we suddenly go to, Deep Throat. it suddenly becomes this, dark noir thriller vibe we hadn't gotten in the rest of the show. And I think it's the show just keeping you on your toes.
Or Squiggy.
And yeah,
Yeah.
he does not have a good day.
And, you know, at least as far as this episode is concerned, it's like Carl just screams in the parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that Carl has a good time.
Oh yes, no, not no, certainly not.
You know?
But he looks in, he sees Lane in the reflection in Squiggy's eyes, who dies, and then Carl sees. He looks up. He starts freaking out.
Yeah.
As he, oops, one second. There we go. As he sees something, and here's where, if I recall correctly, he sees a figure coming at him, and if I believe correctly, that is the director with a sheet over his head.
That's what?
The director with a sheet over his head. Apparently, they needed to get this clip, and the writer was talking to the director and said, "How are we going to get this?" And they were like, at one point, the writer was saying, "We actually spent a lot of time just like running around Tokyo, just kind of grabbing, like with literally a handheld camcorder, getting footage for like the crowd scenes and so forth. It's all that stuff that's kind of that." And they needed this shot, so literally the director just threw a sheet over his head. They went into a parking lot. He took a camcorder and filmed this real quick, and then that became this footage for the ghost coming at Carl.
Oh boy.
It's like,
When was Blair Witch again?
yeah, guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah, interesting.
Just throwing it out there. Like, okay, that works fine. We'll just throw every After Effects filter on the world over it.
Yeah. So it's confusing, but it's certainly creepy as well.
Exactly.
So good job. Kudos, boys. Kudos.
Yeah, Carl screams, and then we get the end of the episode. They give us this. This takes 12 minutes when Alice shows up at Lane's house.
Yeah.
This goes on.
At the wreck of Lane's house.
Yeah. So, thanks to John's redshift, blue shift thing, I now have a better idea of the symbolism. Because there's red and blue paint spattered all over the walls.
Right.
Which, if you didn't ever notice that at any other point in time of this show, you'd be like, why in the hell is it only red blue? Like, that's a weird thing to be there. Like, aha, no, it's not just weird. It's symbolic of things.
Oh, love it. I still don't know, like, realistically what that's meant to represent. Like, did Lane just get a paintball gun or something? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's blotched, it's splattered, it's smeared. You know, it's just...
Yeah.
It's really hard to... If you want to do a Rorschach test, I suppose this is a good place to go for it. So,
Steve?
Is that
the
Miki?
window into the madness.
What's that Miki?
Mika. Ooh.
Mika.
It
Mika.
could
Yeah.
be, but she's fairly catatonic.
Well, she's maybe understanding.
Yeah.
She's beep, and then I think she's saying what, God or something like that.
Yeah, it's like Ga. So
Ga,
presumably, God,
Yeah.
but she's not getting there.
But if she's either the failed experiment or she is aware of what's going on, that's what's driving her insane. She's probably going, well, I need to see the red, blue. Where am I? Here's blue. Here's red. Here's wherever.
Yeah.
It is, because Lane doesn't need to do that. Lane can just look at a shadow and there it is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good call. There's a neat little image here, which I couldn't tell the first time I watched this because the colors were so off. But Alice looks down, and it's literally Lane's coat just dropped at the entrance.
Yep.
And I didn't put up or anything, just there it goes.
Well, the housekeeper hasn't been around. And
No.
things are a little bit of a mess.
A little bit of a mess.
The credit card was declined.
But at least, if you notice, there are shoes sitting there. So they're still maintaining the take the shoes off thing. So
Absolutely.
Now, here's
courtesies
the thing.
must be maintained.
Well, funny you should say that, because I'm like watching this, and she just Alice takes her shoes off.
Right.
And I'm like going, the place is chaos. Why do you care?
Yeah, I would not go through that place in sock feet, dude.
Well,
no way.
there's
exactly.
I have not actually seen this clip, but I remember a guy talking about this where he's an American living in Japan. He said, I remember seeing a news clip of a SWAT team entering a house and taking their shoes off as they entered. Like they just
wow.
kick them off in the entrance. Just and again, not intentionally. Just it's in your brain. That's just what you do.
They're getting out the back window. Hold on, my special place is tied. I gotta do this.
We mustn't desecrate the floor.
Exactly. No, we'll be unclean.
Blaine's place is unclean. It's
Right.
basically outside.
Pretty much. And then we get the smoke. I'm kind of
Smoke or steam from the processor.
That's where I wanted to go. What do you guys think the smoke steam mist is?
I think it's literally she's like overclocked the hell out of her Navi. And all this stuff going on and all the liquid carbon that's escaping into this entire place. I think that's what it is. It's all the coolant mist and vapor. But Steve, thoughts?
I thought it was the breaking down of the environment around her, the reality of it. That this is it's a transition.
Yeah, I like
to
that.
Go from one to the other. That the physical transition, because she's been able just to do it, and now as we come to discover what her whole purpose is. This is part of that purpose. This is like maybe the beginnings of that.
Yeah,
of breaking it down to barrier.
The melding of the two worlds.
Yeah.
We've also seen mist and death.
Yeah.
You know, whenever somebody's died, it's been very misty. So you could also go there. And I think, by the way, all of these three are like accurate. Like, I think these all fit what's going on here. They all work. And like you say, we see Mika. Mika's apparently around.
Which by this point in time, shouldn't Mika have probably starved to death? She doesn't seem functional quite enough to care for herself.
What's funny is I thought she was not corporeal. I thought because when Alice comes in and sees her up on the stairwell, you cut away from that and you cut back and
she's gone.
Mika's gone.
That's certainly true. Yes.
That's what I kind of wondered. I'm like, is this is this a part of the like gray alien fantasy thing? Like you're starting to see stuff as you get closer to Lain,
or is she just now an after image?
Right, that's possible. What's also interesting is that she's wearing like this red blouse with like a white tie, like a white bow tie. I'm just seeing this now. Almost like it's a uniform for something. Like it's not her school uniform. I don't think it's anything we've seen her in before. So I wonder what that means. I literally don't know. That's interesting. I wonder if it's the waitress uniform in Siberia. Maybe.
Could be. I was thinking it could be funerary garb. I remember a friend of mine who lived in Tokyo. It's like you don't send red envelopes at like holidays because those are death announcements in Japan.
Right, good call.
So
red.
But I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like you think of a Miko's outfit, like is the top white and the bottom's red. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of different things that could be going on.
Right. Yeah.
That I don't know.
Totally.
You know, if a Miko deals with the spirit world, her wearing a red top with a white tie could be reminiscent of a Miko's outfit, and
like
Mika is in the spirit world wired already.
Yeah,
and we're not actually seeing her; we're seeing like Steve, like the after image. Who the heck?
I think that fits really well. I love that. And so Alice opens, and I love the build up to this because it is so creepy. And then Alice opens the door to Lane's room, and you're like, "Oh, Lane's room," and she's still horrified. And you're like, "Oh yeah, it's horrifying, right?"
Yes.
Yes.
I gotta imagine it reeks too.
Yeah.
You know, just all the hardware, all the heat, everything else going on in there, and it's just
all the yakisoba packets sitting out there.
Yeah. The fact that Lain probably hasn't showered in like months.
Well, she doesn't look great.
No, she
does not.
But it doesn't matter.
Right?
The flesh does not matter.
Flesh does not matter. There's a role-playing game called Fiasco. Tabletop role-playing game called Fiasco. And it's a game where you play single sessions that are meant to be like a Coen Brothers film, right? Like your characters your strong characters in a pressure cooker scenario, and everything's gonna go wrong. And in that game, they refer to a thing they identify called the tilt. And the tilt is where everything has built up to a point, and then everything kind of spills over from that point, right? Somebody's been lying. They're finally found out, and now you're dealing with all the consequences of this. This, I believe, is the tilt of Lain in a somewhat different perspective. Because this show has been building up this idea of the Wired being this new separate phase of reality, and the body is kind of superfluous. And we'll get back to Alice here in a second. But Alice just goes, nope, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And convinces Lain through just touching her, having her touch her, in a, let's be honest, slightly Yuri scene. Intimate.
Well, the first time I watched it, I thought Lain was going to kiss her.
Right, yeah.
Taro kissed Lain. I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Strawberry panic gone horribly.
Lain, before you kiss me, can you brush your teeth?
Just a
little deodorant. Here.
Exactly.
Use a wet wipe. There you go.
But we finally have like an actual conversation between these two. And I believe it's like the first like real conversation they've had. Lain hasn't really been forthcoming up to this point, and just too shy really to really talk to Alice.
Yeah.
And then Lane's been going off and rewriting reality, and Alice hasn't really been able to do that. So you have this heart-to-heart where Alice points out, to your point, Steve, how horrific it is to live in a world where everyone else thinks the past is different, but you know different. And how horrified she feels, and Lane's like, "Oh no! That's not what I meant to do."
Right.
Like, and it's interesting, unspoken, how Lain wouldn't change Alice because she cares so much about Alice.
Yeah, she loves Alice.
She loves Alice, and so she wants to preserve that, which implies she knows that rewriting memories is not a wholly positive act.
Right.
But she did it because she needed to fix things, and she's 14 years old. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
She probably could have used that to dial Yaso in a little bit,
Yeah.
Get her family back together.
Much less airy.
Yeah.
A little less creepy, airy, please.
Yeah.
You're gonna say, Steve?
No, I was just gonna say, why give 14-year-old people omniscient powers and just go and expect them to do the right thing? Because I was 14 once, and I remember what that was right and what that was like, and I was wrong 98% of the time. So and if I had godlike powers, boy, would we all be
Well, and it's exactly what you were saying before, John, about wishing into the cornfield. It does explain a lot about her family's, attitudes and behaviors. If they're spending this entire time thinking, Lain might just kill us all. If this goes wrong,
negate our existence.
Yeah, exactly. And we hope it won't happen, but boy, not a fun experience.
This is like one of those moments you see Yaso with a baseball bat sneaking up behind him.
Exactly.
I'm gonna put an end to this.
Yeah.
Oh no. And she turns around, cornfield. No.
Yeah, exactly. It's also interesting to that point of the slight Uranus of this, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this before. One of the things I appreciate about this show is that they never unnecessarily sexualize their characters. You don't see them in bathing suits. You don't see these girls in revealing outfits, except when they're clubbing, and even there, it's standard sort of clubbing outfits.
Yeah. There was no beach episode here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh God, a Lain beach episode.
Someone needs to draw that. We need that totally.
Where they don't just try on different outfits, Lain just
Four
makes
words.
them be in different outfits.
4 words. 4 words. Eri in a Speedo.
No.
No.
There's a
I need the floss.
there's an anime series called Super Robot Wars OG the Inspector, And Super Robot Wars, it's terrible title. Super Robot Wars is a video game mashup of different mecha shows. So, Escaflowne fights Gundam, fights Macross, all that kind of good stuff.
Okay.
With some original characters so they can kind of pull them all together. The Super Robot Wars OG, The Inspector, is a 26-episode anime series with just original characters. So they don't have to license all the other franchises. They can still tell a story that's very much like every every mecha cliche all thrown together all in one show. Great fun. And they have a beach episode. The character designer they got for that was Masami Obari, who is well known for drawing girls he loves the guy in Axe Bounce, I'll put it that way.
Okay.
So his girls tend to be well endowed.
Boy.
He's famous for doing an anime series, an OVA, where all the girls are well endowed, including like the 10-year-old, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah. And again, it's meant to be, it's a parody, but so there's a beach episode of that, and we're getting way off topic, but beach episode of Super Robot Wars, and all the girls wear bikinis, and all the guys wear Speedos. And they're all, teenagers, young adults, it's all a similar age things, but it was hilarious watching this when it came out, and all of the male fans going, how dare they sexualize those boys? Like,
Yeah, nothing about the women.
just saying. But anyway, but yeah,
I can't unsee.
I apologize. That may be worse than what's about to come next in the episode.
Well, I was gonna say Ari would be the one to do it. Though.
He would,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
His like rock star look, it's like hell yeah, that'd be him. Like, oh boy.
Speaking of, who should show up to talk to Lain a little bit and explain that Lain has a bug, and which of course freaks out Alice. And here's where we get some great writing. Boy, I love this sequence because Alice is obviously freaking out.
Yeah, who are you talking to, Lain?
Right, exactly.
Like, uh-oh.
Yep, and then she can see the hand, but not the body.
Yeah, which would freak me out hard.
Exactly.
Like, how is that hand there?
Because the thing is, if you remember, up until this point, Alice has seen. Trying to think, she's seen Lain in the sky, presumably.
The Lain in the clouds.
Right, exactly. She's seen obviously Alien Lain.
Yep.
AKA.
She saw Lain appear out of nowhere on her bed in her
Right.
room.
Mm-hmm. And then she's seen the house and so forth. But all of that is potentially like hallucination, mistake, whatever. Like it's something you can kind of explain away later on. It's like, okay, I must have been confused or whatever. This is like right in front of you. You see a supernatural event.
So about this time, I would have been looking at the window, the glass window, and going, my arm should do the trick.
Exactly.
Is there any way out of this? Mm-hmm. Well, I find it fascinating that Ari just keeps trying.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like Lain, as we've seen episodes prior, Lain like blows him back with the force of her self, and here he just comes back again, and it's like every opportunity he gets to be like, oh yeah, come on, it's okay.
Yep.
And
And
I'm God, and
Yep.
just follow along.
It's his hubris.
yeah, and this is where Lain calls him on that, where she finally puts two and two together and realizes, wait, why do you care so much? And then, that wonderful twist of basically, wait a minute, if there is a God, then who created you, basically? Where did all your stuff come from? And he's like, wait, no, you're wrong.
Are you saying there's a real God? Kinda.
Which I thought was. It's been through the whole series. This has been that one crescendo moment where it's like, thank you, Lain. You're calling him to the carpet right here in like a completely coherent, cogent discussion.
Yes,
it's like not
exactly.
kind of steps, not kind of I don't know, not kind of I'm unsure. No, like if you're here, how did you get here? Like, go girl, go.
Yes, which is then capped off by the fact that he then starts to apparate, and she goes, "So who was saying that you don't need a body?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your bodies
But
don't
you
matter.
notice
But
if
you
it-
really care about them.
Well, what's interesting is that, he talks about how you don't need a body, and then she calls him out on being a god. Then he decides to prove to her that, no, I am a god, and I am your god, and you better worship me. So what does he do? He tries to create a body for himself, and he gets all Tetsuo.
Yes.
And it just gets, Cronenberg body horror
Very much.
thing
Yes.
going. And
Well, that's all the
Lain-
yakitori and like cutlets and stuff that
Yeah.
they didn't eat, just forming. Like, oh, nice.
And then Lain is and then they're swept up, and Lane's like, gotcha, see ya. And I'm like going, yeah, this is like a tentacle thing, and we all know where this is going.
Right. And
Hope you have a plan.
right. And I believe that there is also kind of that implication here. Not obviously the show would go in that direction, but that
Right.
we have seen these sorts of monsters before. We know it's bad news.
Right.
Meanwhile, to that point, Alice is not having the best day of her life.
The fact that she's keeping her sanity in check is kind of impressive.
Exactly. And this is something that I did not realize first time around either, is that when a bunch of stuff starts kind of flying out of the room into Arian. I thought he was basically continuing to create himself but failing, and trying to pull all these things into him. No, that is Lain throwing
Lain.
things at him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it comes out nicely about not needing the body.
Yeah.
Because when he starts to apparate as, again, like Steve said, a Cronenberg experiment, that's where Lain pivots from that, like, oh, you don't need this? Okay. And it's just like, now she kills him by crushing his body to
Yes.
death. Like, oh, wait.
With the devices she no longer needs.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she no longer needs any of the technology because she can interface directly. So just smash him down with it, and try to protect Alice and her fragile sanity.
Yeah. And it's interesting because there's obviously symbolism there of mankind crushed under technology, because that is kind of what the whole show is warning us about, or concerned about, I should say. But I'm trying to remember if where we get.
We know Eri is already the ghost in the machine,
There we go.
or the ghost in the shell. If you
Hey, there we go. Trying to see if we get a clip. There's him getting nice and smooshed.
Yeah.
I guess we get more of it next time, where we see Alice's reaction to all this. He's not going to be very happy. I don't think she ultimately managed to preserve her sanity in this one. Because she's just freaking out and just screaming over and over throughout this entire thing. And yeah, I think this has very much driven Alice over the edge. Yeah, exactly. Poor Alice. Alice is definitely one of the big victims here.
Well, I mean, it's very hard to find out that somebody loves you so much they let you remember all the horrible things while erasing all of the rest of existence. And now you've got a giant, crazy space alien monster gushy thing trying to kill you. I would hope for a fairly good sanity roll, but I'm not going to get a guarantee on that. She might be able to internalize this in a way that doesn't make her mad, but
Yeah.
Malt liquor.
all liquor and anger.
But I gotta say, this is how you end an episode. Especially your next to last episode.
What sets you up for, oh boy, what's going to happen in the next one?
So, Steve.
It hurts.
What do you think is going to happen in the final episode of Lain?
Oh God, I don't even know. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So, I just know there's gonna be a slow clap at the end of that. I'm gonna be very, very upset. I think she I think that she is going to transcend into the wire. I think she's going to create her own reality there to have the things that I think she's always wanted to have. I think the life that she wanted to be, you know, a more complete life. I think that something's going to happen to Alice that's going to make her just, whether it's good or bad, like if Alice recovers or not, you know, whether she lives or not, it's going to drive Lain to go to this brink. And I think we'll see an episode where everything either comes to the precipice and Lain backs off, or Lain goes, we're all jumping into this river together, and takes it all with her. I think it's an all or nothing ending episode. I don't think it's going to be like the Akira episode where you're, you know, left with, I am Tetsuo, and you're, what are the implications of that? I think you're going to know not what the series necessarily means wrapped up in a nice, neat little bow.
Right.
But I think as far as the character Lain goes, I think you will see the end of Lain.
I hear that.
So would you be disappointed if it became a musical and there's just a lot of song and dance numbers? Would that disappoint you, Steve? I don't want you to be shocked if that happens. I'm not spoiling it for you.
Can there be penguins? Because that would make me happy.
There are no penguins, but Eri does show up in a penguin speedo.
No, God.
So, but he is dancing,
Right.
and it's amazing. But I'm not spoiling it for you.
All right. So it turns into cabaret. Cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, actually, episode 13 is where the mecha shows up. From
the
war in space.
Right. All along.
Big O, big O, big O, big O. No, 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 no.
That's 28. What?
We've already had our giant mechanical thing as a Cronenberg monster, so I think we're good there. Yeah. So John, what are your thoughts at this point in Lain? Obviously, knowing you've seen it before, but having coming back to it.
It just keeps on giving the more you watch it. It's insane.
It's stuff you don't want.
You guys know I've watched a handful of series a few times because they're just stupid simple. I know where the plot goes. I know what happens. There's nothing that is revealed suddenly in Dog Days that I'm like, what? It's amazing. Or Sekirei. Or Seitogai Yakuindo. There's nothing new revealed in it. It's just, it's funny. I enjoyed it. Watching Lain again, it's just like, there's so much more I'm getting in the second slice here. So it's like, I can't wait to rewatch the final episode again to be like, okay, now I know a lot more of what's going on. I've seen a lot more of what's happening here. How is this going to look? You know, how am I going to experience this now from the perspective that we've discussed all of this? I'm not just watching it by myself. So
yeah,
I'm excited and a little apprehensive as to see what my interpretation will be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I totally hear that. Yeah, coming back to it now after so long, it's been a lot of fun to kind of to remind myself of things. It's fun coming back to something that is this familiar, but you've been away from long enough that you don't remember all the exact details. Because there's a lot to it, and I just appreciate so much a show that is sufficiently open-ended to give you those interpretations, while still, Steve, as you were saying, you definitely get that sense that at the end you will have an ending. They're not just going to go off in some random direction. They're clearly going somewhere with this.
Stay tuned for season 2. Oh,
no. I'm just surprised.
Another 13 episodes. Get through. Oh.
I'm just surprised that I did not see this in the when it came out, because this is actually, for all my grousing, this is actually up my alley. This kind of thing. These are the kind of things that I watch and enjoy, and just like enjoying those mind turns and having to think about all that stuff. But I'm now gonna have to somehow do a mental floss with this whole speedo thing.
I'm gonna have to check Pixiv and see if there's any.
No, we don't have to check.
I was just about to say I can't wait for next week where Steve will have a big wall scroll with Ari and a penguin speedo behind him with his lab jacket all splayed out, his hair.
Just gonna
all
say,
wild.
any artist in the community, like I'll pay for this. I will pay for this piece of art.
Oh wow!
I'm honestly.
I'm gonna throw a caveat on there: a satisfaction payment.
True.
We're
Yes.
satisfied
Yes.
with the art. Not like,
Stick
here's a
figure is
crayon
different,
drawing
right.
of like a stick figure. Pay me for it. No, satisfaction. If it's to your satisfaction.
I'll pay for it. I didn't say how much.
Okay. That's another one good aspect to put in there. That's worth 25 cents.
Right.
There you go.
PayPal is an amazing thing. So
20,000 mora. Rudy would take it right now.
exactly. Oh boy. So that is Lain 11 and 12. One more episode to go. We'll talk about that next week. The final episode for the final countdown of Lain as we
Labor Day weekend.
Labor Day weekend. Yep.
So that there will be the giant reveal, and then we can all decompress.
Exactly. Yes.
I have a feeling that at the end of our discussion, there will be a tumbler of whiskey sitting right here, just waiting for the end. That's good. Thank you.
Cereal Experiments grain. Alcohol.
That's right.
I was thinking, try the new drink I'm going to invent, which is called a Canadian Snow Whisker.
Oh.
Okay.
Which you take a little Canadian, the wild turkey Canadian bourbon, and throw that in with a little bit of maple syrup, and a dollop of vanilla ice cream.
All right. Well, that will do it.
And that's it.
That's it.
Now we're going to take a quick break for just a few minutes, then we'll be back to talk about more modern anime and the latest anime news. We will be right back. Now that the trivia works again. Yay.
Yay! never seen that.
So we are coming back from the 3x3 Eyes screenshot, talking about that one. And I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and it's 3x3 Eyes. Hello, everyone. We're back.
Hi.
Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, fairly obscure OVA from the 90s with one of my favorite romantic endings of all time. Yep.
It actually, so it's a real ending. Like it's not
Oh,
like a suddenly.
well-
I'm not going to make a choice now.
Oh no, there's a choice. There's absolutely
Okay.
a choice. Like those, I won't spoil it, but like those two are together.
Good.
But it is a very much sort of a tragic romance sort of situation, right? Like it's their, so basic plot, boy, random older teenage boy falls in love with teenage girl. Turns out she is from a magical race, basically, and has been made immortal. And so she has been 16 for like 1,000 years.
Whoa.
But she's also been cursed with losing her memories. So she doesn't know she's immortal. She doesn't know all this stuff. People come after her and are trying to kill her. He intervenes and becomes her companion, basically. But it is very dangerous for the two of them to be together. So it's that kind of back and forth of they both care for each other very much. As he saves her, she basically saves him. And she has sort of an alter ego personality. But them staying together would be bad for both of them. So that sort of tragic romance thing going on.
Well, that sort of reminds me of Spice and Wolf. When Holo talks to the bird woman about she's a bird deity and she falls in love with a human being and now she's alone.
Right.
Because she's effectively immortal. And it's like, oh, yeah,
Yep.
that's I hate those stories. Where it's like, oh, it's a happy love. Oh, that's right.
No.
It only works if you're both immortal or both mortal. It really kind of sucks otherwise.
Well, as the song goes,
Apollo didn't think so.
Who wants to live forever?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Greek gods didn't seem to have a problem with it.
Zeus
Yeah,
didn't have a problem with it.
That's, they had other problems.
Well,
They
yeah.
had other issues there.
Yeah, so let's take a moment to talk about how our week's been and what we've been watching. Folks in the chat, please let us know how your week's been, what you've been watching lately, any questions you have for the three of us. John, how about you? How's your anime habits been?
Actually, better.
Cool.
Because I've dialed back away from Genshin as much. Still doing the things I need to do, but
Yeah.
Catching up on Girlfriend, the honor student at Magic High, trying to get more forward. The Maiko-chan popped up again.
Okay.
Like I don't really understand. It was slated to have 12 episodes,
Okay.
and it got to 6.
Huh.
And then
okay.
it just hung at 6 for a
Interesting,
while,
yeah.
and then suddenly I got my Crunchy queue popped up again. There's episode 7.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
they
Yeah.
took apparently a hiatus about mid-season and have picked up again and are moving along. So I'm episode by episode getting there. Kobayashi, Dragon Maid, all that. Episode at a time, I'm getting slowly forward.
I
So
hear that.
Awesome.
I'm very pleased to see I'm making progress again because I'm starting to fall really behind. And then just the lead up to Labor Day weekend. So in the soda business, there's a lot of business.
Yeah.
People love their
I'm sure
soda.
Steve can appreciate that.
In the booze business, oh yes.
I know, Brent, you have a new cadre of students and stuff, so it's
That
very
is
busy
true.
for you as well.
That is very, very true. Yeah, we onboarded 700 new associates at Capital One, of which we're responsible for just over 100 in our class. So they are coming in so Monday is their first day of class, and so and I'm teaching. I get to be the first person, which is good. Like I'm looking forward to that. I kind of like being their first introduction to the class. So I'm the standard everyone else gets compared to.
That when you
Kidding.
hand out the card to get viewership up here on
Yeah.
archaeology.
So speaking of, I did a very tricksy thing. On Thursday, we had Instructor Bingo. So basically, every instructor had to, or was asked to provide 3 fun facts about themselves. And then those were put into a bingo card. We were all put onto Zoom breakout rooms, and the students were told, okay, hop into breakout rooms, different instructors will be in there, and see how many you can get, in the Instructor Bingo. And one of my fun facts is I have a YouTube channel with over 8,000 subscribers. And so what happened, people were like, oh, that's interesting. What's the channel? As it happens, the name is Anime Archaeology. So if you see subscribers increase a little bit there might be a little goose happening.
Awesome.
So that was fun. No, but yeah, it was a good week. A lot of questions. I'm one of the site leads, so a lot of just, hey, what's going to happen? What's going to go on? What's going to happen after the course? What are we going to cover?
What is this business and what do I do here?
Right. Mm-hmm.
What are my safety practices?
Yeah. Can I install this? What can I install? We're like, you work for a bank. That's a good question to ask.
What is email?
Right.
What is email?
Well, it's actually, so not to get too off track, but it is actually interesting because, we don't use all the same technologies everyone, like we don't have Discord at work, right? We have Slack.
Right.
So it's getting people used to like these specific tools that we use and, etiquette on those tools of just, threading messages versus not threading messages and all that kind of good stuff. So a lot of just those little details getting worked out so that everyone, and also just the fun bits of, gosh, there's lots of communication methods on here, lots of different things, places we have to look for things. Can't there just be one where like, if only the business world could have could have just one source of information and everything was fine, but that's just not how the professional world works. Sorry.
Now you have to find that one person who says, why can't we have something like The Wire? Oh, no. You're headed for vice president.
Have you seen The Lain?
Yeah. Everyone loves Lain.
Everyone loves Lain. That's all about Lain. That's all about Lain. Kamezar is saying he watched Planet Tess. I think that's how you pronounce it. With a friend. That's awesome. And a friend is a good way of watching that. Planet Tess is an anime series about near future space junk removal, basically, is the basic premise of it. But it has like romance and drama and so forth.
Cool.
Yeah. I watched Planet Tess at a convention where we only got about 2 frames a second. Something was wrong with the DVD player, and they just couldn't fix it. And they turned to the room like, "What should we do? Like, what do you want us to do?" And just play it. Like, we'll live with it. We'd rather get something out of it. And I still love the show. Like, I still enjoyed it. But it was just like, oh, wow. Yeah.
It was like watching a manga. Click, click. Yeah. Wow.
But it's actually fun because again, it makes a good memory. And walking out, everyone was like, "Yeah, I like that. I like that. Like that was great. Like I would go through that to watch that show." And as for me, anime-wise, obviously Lain. I also, after watching episode 12 of Lain, I immediately pulled up Anne of Green Gables because I had to.
Need something.
Shift gears just slightly.
Exactly. And it was great. Anne had, if you recall, offended her friend's mother by accidentally getting her friend drunk. Right. And so now she's dealing with that, and the show does an amazing job of showing how Anne is obviously distraught over this, and you feel bad for her, but also like all the planets are now crumbling, and just life isn't worth living, and it's just it's horrible, and Anna's just going Anna's just going around, and she's doing her chores, she's doing her things, but she's just not the way she usually is, and there's a there's definitely a point where it's humorous, like it's humorously presented that obviously when you're a kid these things are momentous for you, but then as we were talking about before this, it's actually really neat. The way they do this, basically, the best friend's little sister gets very sick. She actually croup, which is an inflammatory thing, and so Anne, because she's been bounced from family to family, in her past. She's dealt with this a lot in the past. So she runs over and gives her the medicine and basically saves the kid's life. And the doctor finally arrives and checks it out and everything's fine. And then there's a little scene with Anne and the doctor talking about this, where Anne says, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I did this and I did that." He says, "Yep, that's a good idea. You should have done that." She says, "It's great because this happened to me," and so forth and so on. And he's just listening to her, and he's doing a great adult job of kind of letting her talk and kind of honoring her discussion, while obviously like he's heard all this before, he's not learning anything new from what she's saying, but just
right.
Okay, fine, you let her talk. And then as he's leaving, the mother, who is all offended at Anne, comes out to him, and he turns and he goes, "You should be thanking that little girl. She saved your daughter's life." I've never had as spirited a conversation with a child before as I had with her. There's just a light of intelligence in her eyes. And you should be glad that she's your daughter's friend, whatever, and drives off. And I'm like, oh, that does a great job of showing that Anne is not just clever and smart and so forth. She can talk to adults.
No.
Right? And adults can understand what she's saying and appreciate that. And it's a way of getting across Anne's kind of intelligence to the viewer without like cramming it down your throat. And I suspect that wasn't in the book. Like that whole scene is just too much detail.
Right.
But very clever done. So yeah, all is forgiven and everything is good. But I finally figured out how to express this to other people. Anne of Green Gables is 50 short Studio Ghibli movies. That's basically what you're getting. You're getting 50 Studio Ghibli movies in half-hour form all the way through. It's like, you guys know what you're doing. Very impressive. Also, the other thing is, I wanted to watch something over dinner tonight, and I pulled up Netflix, and I scrolled through and found out that something was there, and I had to pull myself away from it because I love you all. Because Netflix has the final Rurouni Kenshin live-action film on it.
That's right. Yeah. Yep, I saw it. I saw it 2 nights ago. And I thought of you.
Mm-hmm. And it adapts the original, the prologue storyline. I'm half an hour in. That's as far as I've gotten. Oh, yeah. I gotta ask you, Steve. Do you ever see Kenshin as a boy in the movie? Like preteen boy.
I haven't watched it. I just saw.
Oh, you just saw it? Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Those Kenshin live action movies are just fantastic adaptations, and they did an amazing job. What I've seen so far of this. It's not like scene by scene, shot for shot remake. It's
right.
Yes. So I'll report back once I finished all of that. But it's just also, you see the Netflix logo, and it says. Like a Netflix production, the X on the Netflix is a cross-shaped scar.
Oh wow!
Yep. Well done.
A little nod to the fans.
A little nod to the fans. Exactly. Nicely done. Cool.
Steve, what were you watching?
Yeah.
Well,
besides Lain.
Lain is my life now. No.
Lain.
We all love Lain.
We all love Lain, but not Arian the Speeder. Okay. I finished up. I finished up last week. Kino's Journey. The second version, and did a thing on my channel for it. And I think it was Captain Laser Eyes. So commented on the channel about the first series, which I haven't seen yet, which I'm looking forward to doing. And I'm actually prepping to read the manga because that looks a little bit interesting to me. And I find that as I was doing the description of Kino's Journey, I found like how much I really liked it, and because I was very long-winded in this one, I just seemed to go on forever.
Sure.
So it was. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. So it's not so much I'm watching anime as I am finally getting around to Smashed by Junji Ito.
Cool.
Horror stories. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I like horror stuff, but this is more of like campfire ghost stories kind of thing going
Gotcha.
on. But the thing that I am excited about in the immediate future is that I'm going to watch Chungking Express on the big screen at my local art house movie theater, which is down here, and that is the first Wong Kar-wai movie I've ever seen.
Ooh.
And Wong Kar-wai, for those of you who don't know who he is a very much an auteur of Chinese cinema, and while he has done kind of epics, sword and sandal kind of epics, a couple of those, and he's done some martial arts movies. His stuff is really more not that. It's a lot more about human beings and emotions and kind of a little bit of absurd stories from here and there. But one of the things about Chungking I think is kind of interesting that's coming up at this time is because one of the main characters is basically two stories. In the second story is Tony Leung, and Tony Leung is a huge actor, not just a martial arts actor, but he is a actor. And he plays the villain in the Shang-Chi movie that's coming, the Marvel.
Oh, cool.
Marvel movie that's coming out.
Cool.
So he plays the villain in that, and so I've been a long time fan of his since I first saw Chungking Express back in 2008.
Cool.
I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So it'll be the first time I get to see this on the big screen. And the thing that I'm loving about revivals right now in the movie theaters is that like I'll have the theater like with maybe two other people.
Yeah, sure.
So it'll be kind of cool, kind of fun. But it's only about $3 away, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. But what I did do to counter watching Lain was going onto YouTube and finding Mount Fuji live webcams.
Okay, fair enough.
I just
Yep.
yes, thank you.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Stunning.
We're going to ignore the fact that I have to use the internet to watch it. But
Yeah, whatever.
Eventually, with your eyes, with your real eyes.
no, eyes with my real eyes. Yes. So that's pretty much what we've been doing.
Fair enough.
Nice.
Cool. Y'all hear that?
Here's something.
I hear something.
Oh,
1 second.
The kettle might be boiling. Oh, we're all here. Hi.
hi.
It's fine. It's all fine. We're all fine here now.
We're all fine.
Thank you. How are you?
We'll send somebody up to take a look at that. No need. No, we're all fine.
Large reactor leak here. Very large, rather dangerous. Yeah. There we go. Just had to move a few things around as I reorganize things. We're good to go. It's all fine. It's all good. It's all wonderful. Welcome.
It's all anime archaeology.
Exactly. Welcome to the latest anime news for the week ending August 28th, 2021. And Bandai Namco Collectibles is holding another Gundam Online Expo event this week.
Boy, maybe I'll actually get to go to this one.
Yeah, it began on the 26th and will run through September 6th, so you have time. Free to attend on the website, which is in the news links for those of you who are interested. Programming includes workshops, panels, specially produced video content, and event-exclusive collectibles, of course.
Oh, naturally.
And the new additions this year, including the 2021 Gunpla Builders Cup winners, which is a thing they've been doing every year, and the new Gunpla live stream shopping experience, which is basically described as QVC for Gundam. which I have not checked out yet, but very, very much want to.
It sounds like it could be funny, to say the least.
It'll be co-hosted by people at both the U.S. and Tokyo Bandai Namco locations. Mythbusters Adam Savage will also be joining in the fun with a quote one-of-a-kind Gunpla build video, end quote. I know I saw some videos from a couple of years ago where he was made aware of Gunpla and was like, that's really cool, but I don't know Gundam well enough to sort of dig into that myself. And so he did like the Bandai Star Wars models. So he did some of those over time. So I guess he's getting into Gunpla now, which is cool.
Nice.
This year's expo will also feature video content from current and future Gundam titles, both anime and live action, including screenings and event-only reveals. They're showing some of the new Gundam Build live action series, which I actually watched a little bit of this week, and is very interesting. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Attendees at the expo can virtually visit the Gundam base Tokyo, which is the world's largest Gunpla exhibition, and the Gundam Factory Yokohama also hosted a special insider tour video for the expo, and is also hosting various virtual tours on their own website. The live action version is basically set in the world of Gundam Build, where you actually take Gunpla to like video game parlors and they get scanned, and then you play a video game with your Gunpla. Only in this version, drones fly out to real world locations and create this like scanning hologram, which recreates the battle you're having in VR in the thing, full size in the real world.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So you get two teenagers with like VR goggles on, kind of doing this at each other. And then separately, like at a dam someplace in Yokohama, there are a bunch of people like, ooh, look at that, as, an RX-78 is, beating on some mecha.
Imagine you just start driving your car. Hey, where the hell did that come from?
Look at that beautiful sunset. See the tree over there? Oh, look at that.
It's very interesting.
What, behind Godzilla?
Right, yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
And I will say the acting on two of the main characters is really impressive. Like, they pulled me in. Like, I was like, okay, I'm curious where this relationship is going. Like, you've kind of gone somewhere nicely with this. So a lot of it is just kind of set up otherwise. But
Right.
I'm curious. I'm definitely very curious. But yeah. So that's coming up. What would you all like to see in a Gundam Expo?
Me? Physically actually there? That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing this all, being able to peek in on it. Like, gosh, I just want to be able to actually be someplace and do something like that.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about the being able to see the Gunpla World Cup because what they do with Gunpla in terms of setting up all those dioramas and all that stuff is always so impressive.
Yeah.
So being able to get that like well-produced view of all those and not just somebody with a camera, like a cell phone walking by.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Which, I mean, and again, literal eyes on, because that's when you can actually stop and be like, oh, look underneath that rock ledge, there's like something under there, there's something else going on, or like, hey, look, there's this piece that they detailed on that. And it's you can't some of that you just don't get with a camera.
And I'm hoping they'll do like the 360 view stuff too. So you can actually like spin around and look at it from all the angles. That'd be cool.
Oh yeah.
But whatever.
All of it.
Yeah.
All the things. Meanwhile, Shueisha and Shonen Jump Plus are launching a new smartphone app designed to simplify the process of making manga and allow anyone to try out making their own, even if they don't have the usual skills required to draw manga traditionally. The World Maker app, launching first in closed beta September 8th and then open beta on the 22nd, will let anyone with a smartphone or tablet create an entire short manga by breaking down the process into steps and providing preset templates for each step. So you start by creating dialogue, and then you select characters and backgrounds and so on, with each set featuring templates for each major element. And to celebrate the launch, they've announced the contest World Maker Name Award, where the winning entry will be illustrated by either Romi Oishi of Lockdown Zone or Shiro Usazaki of Act Age and others, and will feature in the Shonen Jump Plus Act. The winner will also receive a prize package worth 300,000 yen, and $3,000 US. Entries will be accepted through October 8th and be judged by a panel including Oishi, Usazaki, and the editorial department of Jump Plus.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever these things come out, people always expect, I'll be able to, take what's ever in my brain and put it exactly in the app.
Yeah.
It's never like that. But I think when people take it in that, this will be fun. I'll see what I can throw together. It's a fun tool.
It's also, I think, will provide, depending on how good the submissions are, it provides a nice pool of people that you might be able to tap for stories and talent.
Yeah. And this is one of the things is that a lot of manga will have a separate writer, right? Like that's fine. So being able to take a writer who can't draw, but have them be able to assemble a manga, it's like, okay, we have an illustrator for you, great,
right?
Go for it. Totally. It's an interesting sort of connection point of saying, we're gonna automate the illustration side to find the writers, right? At work. It's smart. Moving on to more controversial topics. Those who've been looking forward, or not, to the live-action Cowboy Bebop. Your wait is finally almost over. Netflix announced this week its live-action adaptation will premiere on November 19th. The company also posted photos of the main characters. John Cho as Spike, Mustafa Shakir as Jet, and Daniela Pineda as Faye, and of course, I'm the most important character. And you can see them up there. We have some actual imagery, and it's always hard, taking something like Bebop, which actually has a rather flat affect to a lot of its illustrations, and seeing it in the real world. What do you guys think?
Well, I have bated breath anticipation. I want it to succeed. It's one of those things where I just want this to be good, knowing that Netflix has a tendency to, looking at Death Note. I'll never let that go. That horrible remake. Anyway, so when I saw the pictures, though, I was very heartened. I think the actors pretty much all embody, in some way, shape, or form, the characters are playing. I'm glad that they're using a corgi, because for a while there, the rumor was they were going to use a husky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because huskies are a little bit smaller. And easier to train.
They should have used Jack Russells.
Yeah,
all the way, 100%.
But I'm glad they're using corgis, and of course, as we all know, the soundtrack. Kano's going to be the soundtrack to all that. So I am cautiously optimistic, and if it turns out to be garbage, which I really hope it does not pan out to be that way, if it does, then you will hear the scream all the way from where you live. A very distraught. No.
I also think they did a very good job of Faye's outfit, because Faye's one of those characters where if an actual human woman tried to walk around in that outfit, it would just spring off her at every at any moment. And they talk about that.
Otakon 2014. So Otakon 2014. So a girl dressed in that outfit from the anime, and I was just like, "How are you? Where is your protection?" Because
GalaxyCon and I think this Otakon this year, I think there were people dressed as Faye. I'm pretty sure I saw a couple at least.
I saw an interview with Man Faye, who's a guy who dresses as Faye in West Coast, and he talked about how this is not an outfit you can wear for long periods. You go out, you wear it, and then you go back to your hotel room after a little while because things shift.
Apply the paint remover so you can get it off.
Right, exactly.
And move on with your night.
And so the outfit is definitely sexy, without being something that's kind of hard to move around in or whatever, or to use on set. So I'm glad to see that. Just intrigued. It's interesting too because I think Cowboy Bebop can't work the same live action, but I think you can definitely make something that feels like that kind of noir homage that Cowboy Bebop is in live action. So we'll see. But yeah, curious to see how it works out.
I will wait to see what your guys' opinions are.
Well, as we said before, I'm not looking forward to it with bated breath in the sense that I expect it's going to be amazing, but I'll give it a shot.
Right.
We'll see how it goes. Also this week, there we go. Anime inspired by video games are nothing new, though this week's edition is a little more unusual. A short anime was announced for the Nintendo Switch fitness boxing games called You and Fitness Boxing, and will feature 5-minute comedic episodes about the daily lives of the game's instructors. That'll come October 1st. A TV anime was also announced based on the song Heroine Tarumono by Vocaloid creator Honeyworks. The anime is titled To Become a Good Heroine, The Unpopular Girl, and the Secret Job. Features a high school girl who becomes a manager in training for her classmates' idol unit, of course. Aniplex revealed the new original TV anime Fanfare of Adolescence this week, which might go in for most misleading title of the season. Coming in spring of next year, the story takes place at a highly competitive horse racing academy where boys train to become jockeys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's totally not the title.
Musume Derby girl.
Right,
Was all like horse
Right.
girls.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting.
Yeah.
Huh?
Which, by the way, I don't know if folks know, that DVD, or the Blu-ray of that was the highest selling Blu-ray of anime ever. Like the third or fourth one.
Musume Derby girls.
Yes, Derby Girls. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it sold untold numbers of copies when it came out because it's based on a smartphone game,
Okay.
and if you buy the Blu-ray, you got a chance for a thing in the smartphone game. Yeah, they did the thing. They did the thing. Yes, but it broke all sorts of records, which is probably why we're getting a season 2. It's probably where that came from. Toei is producing an anime film adaptation of Kana Ozawa's Blue Thermal, Aonagi College Sports Festival Aviation Club, which might go for the most accurate title. Coming in March of 2022, the manga's protagonist enters college and ends up unexpectedly joining her university's glider club. As in, full glider, not hang glider, actual,
Right.
like, polygonal glider. So that looks cool. Looks kind of slice of life-ish.
Heck of a university that happens to have a glider.
Yeah,
club.
exactly.
Wow.
The official website for the Girls und Panzer Das Finale film series revealed the third film's Blu-ray and DVD release will include a new OVA titled Daikon War, which will ship with the film December 24th. This week also brings more Lupin the Third related news. This time, TMS Entertainment and Magnetic Press are publishing a tabletop role-playing game based on the franchise. Yes. It'll feature adventures and heists in an open-world quests system, and will use a Magnetic Press variant of the legendary D6 West End rule set. More about that in a second. The company's also announced a new retrospective coffee table book celebrating the anime's 50th anniversary, including, they claim, comprehensive looks at each episode and season, as well as the characters, artwork, and media adaptations. So it'll be about Yato.
Yeah, I was
I
about
was
to
gonna
say,
say, is it a coffee table book or a coffee table?
Exactly.
It's a dining room set of everything about everything. Oh, okay. You realize, of course, if it's going to be that comprehensive, this is going to be like a real, true 50th anniversary price as well.
Right.
Because there's no way in hell you're going to do that on the cheap.
No. I'm actually just looking up here real quick. And granted, Lupin's been around for a long time, but it's not like the TV series has been on air continuously. If we go down 178, that doesn't say 178, then 50, so that's 228, right? Plus 13, so that's 241. Plus 26. Yeah, so it's only 200 episodes or so, maybe 250. So now that I think about it, I mean, obviously, in depth is up for debate,
Yeah.
but it's something you could conceivably cover every episode, in a coffee table book. Potentially.
It'll be interesting to see them try.
Yes, exactly. And
I still want it.
exactly. And when I said legendary, the D6 system is what the Star Wars RPG was based off of. That RPG was so successful, the lore in the D6 Star Wars RPG became official Lucasfilm lore. Like they
wow.
they invented races and characters and so forth that ended up like in the movies. It's that crazy.
Damn.
So it's a very, very well respected from that perspective, and obviously,
Wow.
So they did well on that one.
Cool.
So that is stuff coming, which is exciting. But
I'm surprised that there was no mention of Hatsune Miku,
why is that?
because she is doing, is it Cho or Sho Kabuki?
Oh,
Coming up, it's like in the next month, they're having a live Kabuki theater presentation, and Miku is going to be in it. They're going to somehow integrate her into a Kabuki
Interesting.
play.
wow!
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, it's like I think it's 3,000 yen or something for a ticket.
Oh,
or,
that's nothing. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much it is, but it's just like, and you can, I think you can either view it. It's like from like September 12th.
Oh,
or
this
something
makes.
through, like,
Oh, okay, yeah. So they're gonna do
Yeah.
the thing. So if you
Yeah.
guys have seen the Hatsune Miku concerts, they have this sort of holographic technology. They have a screenshot here of what I'm assuming is basically like the rehearsal. And so they have, Miku behind them in full 3D, and then the actors in front of the project. Fascinating.
Yes,
Really cool.
I'm so like I'm on the edge of it. I'm like I want to buy into this. I want to see it because I stumbled across her Indonesia concert that was on. They had it on Crunchyroll a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I've never seen Miku. I don't know what this is about. And I watched the entire thing. It was like an hour and a half of all of her songs, and I'm just like, this is a crazy future that I like living in. This is neat. And then that's when I saw that she went on Letterman. Before
really?
he retired
Wow.
from the
I didn't know that.
Late Show.
Huh.
Yeah, and it's like, of course, David Letterman talking to a Japanese
yeah.
hologram was quite amusing, but it was still just the seamlessness of it, the scrim that she's on, or whatever the screen is they use, that he's just standing next to her and full 3D rendering. It looks like she's freaking standing next to her. I'm like, oh my god! And part of the Kabuki stuff, they show a still of like the main male Kabuki actor, and she's standing like back to back with him.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, holy.
Yeah. What blew my mind. That's all the news for the week.
Sorry.
It's good. I'm glad you included that. What blew my mind about that concert is that it's not just Miku. Like when she does the live concerts, it's also
all of the
Lin and
crew.
Ran and all the crew, and they all dance according to their personalities. So like Lin and Ren, who are little kids, they're bouncing all over the place and they're all energetic, So they're actually like thinking about how all the characters, like, jeez, crazy.
Yeah, I think there was an LA concert. It might have coincided with her being on Letterman, because that would make sense if they were in place and time. And I only watched a portion of the LA concert, but it was Miku, and then there was like 4 other like
idols,
Vocaloids singing. And I'm like, I have no idea who these things are, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
So much better than sock puppets.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's okay.
Nice.
No more hot hat.
No more hot. Minimal line. It's there, but it's not too bad this time. I'm going to talk about something I like. Well, it's something I like, but it's oof. Well, like, how do you define that, right? Is it kind of like it's that which you are impressed by, maybe? That which blew you away? But yeah, this is definitely going to be a thing to talk about. Let me see if I can't adjust. What? Why is that suddenly pointing? Hold on. There we go. I had to adjust myself. Apologies. Okay. Welcome to Brent's Anime Recommendation Corner, where I talk about something I love, and in this case, it is the Rurouni Kenshin OVA, Trust and Betrayal, the first one. Back when anime was first kind of making its way in a big way into America in the 90s, obviously it was around, but when suddenly there's a flood of VHS tapes and OVAs and DVDs and such, there was a big pull, big interest in anime for grown-ups. And sometimes that meant tentacle monsters. But sometimes it meant something more serious and more complex. And so we got the Rurouni Kenshin OVA at the time. Now, I believe the TV series had not actually made it over to America yet. Or was in the process of coming over. So we didn't know it, at least when it came out. When it came out, I had not experienced Kenshin at all. This was my first exposure to Rurouni Kenshin. And this is an anime for adults. There's no gore. No, there is gore. I'm sorry. There's gore. There's no humor. It is a serious story about bad things happening to people and how they react to that. What happened basically is Rurouni Kenshin is described as sort of a shonen romance. It is about a swordsman, an assassin who has given up the way of the sword and is trying to find peace, but that doesn't really happen very easily. And this is his backstory. This is about the time when he was an assassin, he had lost his way, and what happened to him in that. And it had been a mystery in the manga for a very long time, and it was finally revealed. When they made the TV series, not to get a little too off topic, but when they made the TV series, they made 3 seasons of the TV series. Season 1, Season 2, and then by the end of Season 2, they ran out of manga. So they just kind of made stuff up for Season 3. And fans generally tell you not to watch Season 3. Season 3 is that bad. And apparently, the director apologized for Season 3 publicly and said, to make it up to the fans, we're going to adapt Kenshin's backstory as an OVA and make it a completely serious, adult-driven thing. We're going to take it seriously. And that is what Kenshin OVA is. It is a very difficult look at a brutal time in Japanese history and how that brutality affected people and how people reacted to it. For clarity, Kenshin, the Hidokiri Batosai, the manslayer, is a historical Japanese legend. There is a reference to an assassin that was employed by the revolution at the time, but everything about him, obviously, the author made up. There's just a quick reference that there was an assassin at one point. And what's amazing is that Kenshin the TV series is a story of it's kind of light adventure a lot of the time. It's a samurai action story with some romance elements and so forth, but it's very upbeat, all told. This is not upbeat. Whatever is the opposite of upbeat, that is Kenshin OVA. This is about people dealing with tragedy. And more importantly, Kenshin, who decides to become an assassin for the revolution because of all the horrors he's seen and experienced with the current regime, is corrupted by that. And he is turned into a soulless killing machine as a result of this. And this is all back to the DVD stuff. I don't think I've ever seen in any media the corrupting influence of personal violence as effectively represented as it is in Kenshin OVA. because it starts out as this action story, and then you see how what Kenshin becomes, and you're like, okay, that's fine, and then it just keeps on developing the outcomes of that and what that does to people, and the cycle of violence is represented so elegantly in Kenshin OVA. In this very classic samurai kind of a story. Again, it can be very bloody, it can be very violent, but it is uncompromising in its vision in a way that it's exceedingly rare. It was made in the mid-90s, I believe. It is full of classic anime art style, in the sense that it's all hand-drawn, all hand-painted stuff, very traditional production process in this. So if you're familiar with like 90s OVA, very much feels like that. And they do a great job of adapting the author's art style, which in turn does a good job of making every character look distinctive, while at the same time, particularly for this OVA, in the TV series they could be a little more over the top. In this, they're much more grounded. They much more feel like historical figures, of which some are based on certain historical figures. And so this is a samurai drama about characters involved in actual history. Again, it's fictionalized, but these things were happening, and so you get an insight into this period in the 1800s in Japan. But so much action, so many action stories present their action as sort of consequence-free. And the theme of this is violence is never consequence-free. Violence always hurts and always causes more violence. And that digging yourself out of that hole is a Herculean task. And it doesn't just negate everything that went before. Those consequences all still have to be lived through and dealt with, all throughout this story. And it also does a remarkable job of laying out little things, and giving you little moments which completely upend the story. I was talking earlier today about the idea of the tilt, that moment where the story just changes on you. That happens several times in Rurouni Kenshin OVA, where you think it's this thing and suddenly it's another thing. And Kenshin is, besides all this thing, Kenshin is an anime that literally changed me. After watching Kenshin, I lost a lot of the interest I had in things like guns and action movies and things like that. I can still enjoy them for what they are. But as an example, I had some friends invite me out for paintball not long after Rurouni Kenshin. And I went out to do it, and I realized I don't want to pretend to kill my friends. And I recognize that lots of folks can do that, and that's fine. But it made me realize the consequences of pulling that trigger. And it just felt uncomfortable for me. It felt weird to even pretend to do that violence on people I like. And so it really made me rethink what it means to be an action hero, right? What it means when people save the day by, spraying bad guys with bullets. And I just see it differently now. Again, I can still enjoy those movies, still enjoy that media. I'm sure if I went off and played paintball, I'd enjoy myself in its own way. But it made me think. It changed my mind at a very basic level. And what more can we ask of great media? And that's what I think Rurouni Kenshin OVA is. Very impressive, not hard to find, and you do not need to see anything else in Kenshin to watch and appreciate and understand this OVA. Chef's kiss, just one of the greats. not to bring things down too far, but Kenshin is one of those things that brings you down. And yes, thank you, Wesley, for pointing out the soundtrack. The soundtrack is legendary. Very traditional Japanese instruments with orchestral soundtrack stuff mixed in as well. Perfectly done. Just fantastic soundtrack. One of the few soundtracks that I like. I will listen to that soundtrack a lot. It's just fantastic. Memories of Kotowaro. There's also a scene later on in Kenshin OVA where you see Kenshin's face go through multiple expressions, which is really hard to do in anime, and because it's a very reserved expression. You see the sense of loss and determination and focus and all these things without like lots of wild movements. It's like subtle Japanese acting in anime. It's very impressive. Yeah, somber. Exactly, Captain. Somber is the key word for Genshin OVA. And that's what we get in the new live-action movie, so yay! To give you an idea, and I'm doing this outside of the review so that, to not trigger people, the story opens with Kenshin as a young child having been sold into slavery in a slave caravan, which is attacked by bandits, and all the people in the caravan are slaughtered by the bandits one by one until he's the last one left. Yeah, that's what they start you with.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's an intro.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So anyway, and John, I know you've seen it, so.
No, I've not seen the OVA.
You've not? I thought you were here when we watched it. Oh wow!
No,
okay, all right.
I
okay.
don't know where I
Neither
was.
have
Okay,
I was not there.
I know.
Neither have I.
Okay, because I know I watched it with Russ. And, yeah, no, you're right. Because that was a different time. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
I know you've talked about it before.
Yes.
And it's like that's
Right.
it's having seen the Kenshin TV series and
Yeah.
loved it. That it was always one of those things where it's like, well, when I can get done with the Kenshin, because I really have to get to season 3.
Oh.
But yeah, hopefully I will get to the OVA because it sounds.
Yeah.
It always, when you talk about it, sounds damn impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that scene brings tears to my eye too, Wesley. Yes, Kenshin had a different name before his master found him. Shinta. I got to do it. So all of these, including like some of the girls in this whole train, have sort of adopted him, and they get slaughtered one by one, including like blade through the neck. It's great. And so she's like still trying to see. Yeah. And then Guy shows up and literally just, wandering swordsman just wanders by and just literally just kills them all. Just slaughters all of the bandits in like seconds. And sees the boy there and says basically, well, sucks to be you, good luck. Walks off. And says, this is a violent time. Goodbye. Come to find out, he is the last samurai of his art, who he wants to die with him. He's like, no one should know what I know. And he has deliberately disconnected himself from all society. So he walks off, comes back that way again later on that night to find a field of graves. Pardon me. The boy has dug and buried all the people, including the bandits. And he says, why have you done this? And the boy goes, no one deserves to have their bodies be pecked at by birds.
Wow.
And the boy says, they protected me, and now I have nothing. And the samurai, he's carrying sake. And he says, in that case, I will give them this. And he pours sake out over the graves of the three girls who tried to protect him. And then the boy says, I don't even have flowers. I have nothing to give them, just graves. And the samurai says, what is your name? And he goes, Shinta. And he goes, a child's name. From now on, you'll be known as Kenshin. Come with me. and takes him away and
Wow.
takes him as his apprentice. And what's brilliant about it, as you find out later, is again, he knows a hideously deadly art that is incredibly dangerous and bad, and yet he's teaching it to this boy. And you're like, that's not going to end well. Yeah. Yeah. So it,
Wow.
It goes. Yeah, no, there's absolutely slavery in Japanese history. That was definitely a thing. It was. What do you call it when you can get sold into or sell yourself into slavery? Indentured. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
It was indentured. It was never by birth. So you could sell somebody into, you could sell somebody for slavery, but not nothing beyond that.
You could have lots of children for a profit.
That was not a thing. That was not a thing, thankfully.
We got 12 kids. We're selling 6.
Yeah.
We got lots to feed the other 6. That's great.
Can I get real dark for a second? It is after 10.
Oh, how dark we going, Brent? Are you gonna make me cry? Is it this dark?
Possibly.
Okay.
So in the north versus the south of Japan, there was a difference. I forget which way it went. In one part of the country, if you had too many girls' daughters, you would expose them and just leave them to die. In the other part of the country, they were like, no, that is wasteful. You sell them into prostitution. Yeah. And it's like, and not just wasteful, but no, they should live. And so we sell them into prostitution. It's like, You know, and in fairness, this was again, you know, dirt poor poverty. Like literally, everyone will starve if we don't do something.
Yeah.
But
we can't feed another mouth, or at least
Right.
that many more mouths. We'll do something about it. Jeez.
Yeah.
And this has been Brent's Romper Room.
It's
Okay.
a fun time
All
with
right.
anime archaeology.
Let's do anime history because that will brighten our days.
Yes.
Because
Right.
there's one thing this week, and it's a bright, fun thing we will all enjoy, and I'm not kidding. Welcome to This Week in Anime History, where we talk about things that happened this week in anime history. And this week was the premiere of the Daikon 3 animation. Back in the day, conventions would ask, or would get animators to create little short animations to celebrate the convention. And back in the early 80s, they got some fans together to produce this animation for the Daikon convention, where a little girl waters a daikon radish, ha ha ha, and it transforms into a giant daikon-shaped spaceship, which she's promptly teleported into, and then blows up all sorts of things like the Starship Enterprise and the Yamato. And it's just it's a fun, ridiculous little celebration of science fiction that was not very what we would call complete when they first released it. They didn't quite get everything done, and so they kind of pushed everything together they could. And then 2 years later, came back with a finished version and a sequel called the Daikon 4 animation, which became legendary, and they went on to found Studio Gainax. And that was so Gainax goes all the way back. Really, it's very early seeds. Were August 22nd, 1981, with Daikon 3, which you can find online.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. So that was that. That was the anime history.
It's a shame they don't do small animations for cons.
I know.
Yeah.
Totally.
Although, given the problems with Otakon with the pandemic, I really wouldn't want them to have another iron in the fire, because I think that would be one too many things.
Yeah.
Well, Otakon has commissioned one or two, haven't they? I remember them being a couple of opening ceremonies where they had some short animation that they had.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the flaming manhole one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The year here in Baltimore when the manholes were in the streets were blowing up into the air. Yeah. All the poor rats burning up.
Yeah.
Wow. So have they done that since Baltimore times? I mean, have they done it when after the move?
I don't think so.
I don't think I have the move, but because they had that connection with Production IG and Masamu Maruyama, who shows up like every year. And so I think they did something with him at one point to do a short animation. I don't know.
I mean, 'cause you could do like Flash animation. It looks it's terrible, but it's animation. So hey, that's the thing.
Yeah, yeah. It would be nice to see more of that stuff.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool.
Exactly.
It's never going to be as epic as Daikon 3.
But no.
Right.
You know what? That sounds like a challenge. It's not going to be as epic. So just try and make one that's more epic.
Imagine drawing that pan across all those characters.
Jesus.
Just kill me now.
Yeah, I also don't think that, like the story you told about Yellow,
Yes.
being like really cool about things.
Yeah.
I don't think in this day and age that anybody would be cool about any of that.
No. Original music, please.
Yeah, and original characters.
Original everything. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
George Lucas will be cool with this. No, he will not be cool with this.
George Lucas probably be cool with it. Disney would not.
Disney will not be cool with this.
Yeah, George Lucas actually he loved all the fandom stuff. Like he was usually cool with all that. Anyone ever see was it Droids?
Yes.
No,
Yes, it was Droid.
No, not the cartoon. The short film. The Cops parody.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a Cops parody made in like the 90s or something. It was basically all the stormtroopers on Tatooine going around trying to find like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. And they're basically stopping various aliens, and it's done in the style of Cops, but with stormtroopers. It's great.
Awesome.
So yeah, there was also Star Wars Hamlet, which if you can find that is a great. It's actually a high school project for their like senior project. Again, back in like the late '90s, they wrote a script that combines Star Wars Episode 4 and Hamlet, and shot it all in their high school, and with lightsabers and the whole 9 yards. Like it's really impressive.
Oh, boy.
It works. Like it all comes together.
I guess it's interesting concept.
Interesting concept. Yes, exactly. I should have mentioned OnCon. OnCon is coming up in 2 weeks.
Oh, yes.
So that is coming up, and unfortunately, I have sad news regarding OnCon. I have not heard back from Nozomi Entertainment about streaming their anime. I first contacted them many weeks ago, and they have not gotten back to me with a thumbs up. And I asked them at the beginning of the week for a go, no-go, and I still have not heard from them. So at this point, I'm going to have to just make the decision that we're probably just not going to have Nozomi Entertainment anime streaming for OnCon. That has just fallen through, sadly. But we will still have panels. We'll still have giveaways. We'll still have the charity auction. We'll still have all that kind of stuff on Saturday. So we will still have a good time. We just will not have the Twitch running the anime, unfortunately. That is coming up in 2 weeks, and it will still be a good time. So looking forward.
Just shoot off an email to Hi Al and see if we can his little studio thing that he's got going on there, and see if we can stream some stuff there.
Exactly. I mean, he's old. He won't care anymore. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
like he's working on other things.
That studio is fairly obscure.
Yeah,
they need the press
on
coverage.
the other side of the world. They don't even know what's going on over here.
Yeah. Princess Mona know who?
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
That was an anime from the '90s. No one watches anime from the '90s.
Mr. Howell's Moving Gilligan's Island.
Right.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
They need the people to talk about it.
Yeah, they need exposure. They definitely need exposure.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh boy, I'm gonna get in so much trouble for that one. But yes, it'll be a fun OnCon. We'll have a good time. But I have a question. What did we do on the show tonight, Brent? We get better at it every single time.
Oh, is there a way to get the little bouncing ball with the text?
We can do a bouncing ball, definitely. I don't know in what rhythm it would go or what.
Yeah. Be like a lane screen where it's just kind of moving around. Like,
It'll just be a blue screen of like the three of us going.
well, Steve,
In
we already
Speedos.
got you in the ball format. We get to have you
Yeah.
bouncing across.
There we
the
go.
screen. Hey, follow the bouncing Steve. What's on? Okay.
Oh gosh. I learned to love Lane.
We all love Lane.
We all love Lane.
Love Lane.
We all love Lane.
Love Lane.
We all love Lane. I learned to prepare for hot teenage boy jockeys
Oh boy, I don't even.
because we know it's going to be a thing. I just
That's
want
going to be a soundbite. That's going to like.
I just want.
I know, right?
We need to make a bet right now. Price is Right rules on how many minutes before one of them is shirtless.
Minutes.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, the intro to those characters is likely to be like after the exercise race that they're doing to cool down. Then, like 3 seconds after that, they're gonna be in the showers talking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
how you doing?
exactly.
What's going on? Yeah. So yes, it's going to be very, very short to the beginning of that show.
I bet. Yeah, that's. I think that's all I learned. I didn't learn a lot this week.
I learned that Bebop live action, it hopefully will be good.
Yeah.
Hopefully good. And that Miku's Kabuki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned that on the
see
show.
that.
I learned that too. Good call. Steve?
Steve.
Do I ever learn? Do it? Can I? Well, sometimes. Occasionally, when I'm sober. So I've learned that I need to watch the Kenshin OVA because I've heard you talk about it so many times. I've also learned that I need to save up my money for the 50th anniversary coffee table book. And I've learned that if we ever slip into a lane type world where things are going that badly, I choose the red pill. That's the pill.
You're going to
I'm
red
taking.
shift versus blue shift. Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Now swallow it down with malt liquor.
Oh, interesting. It was a red pill and a blue pill, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I have learned that I am probably going to go into Cowboy Bebop with high expectations, and yes, you will hear the wail of anguish if Netflix does what it normally does with shows like this, except for Full Metal Alchemist. I'll say that was pretty decent.
Well,
But
can't
I
you
think-
go into it with low expectations and be surprised if it's good?
See, I want to do that, but I'm such a fan of Cowboy Bebop. I mean, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, I want to see. It's just like you with the Miku and Kabuki. It's just like that automatic.
We should
The
watch it.
thing-
We should watch it together when it comes out. Because things are always more fun with other people around to sort of bounce
Yeah.
ideas off of. We should do like a viewing party.
All right,
That'd be fun.
sounds good. I'm
Yeah.
down for that.
Yeah.
And we'll see who's crying and who's laughing.
Exactly.
Who's drinking milk and who's drinking malt liquor?
I need some more Mylanta to get through this. Oh boy.
And we all know what we'll be eating for the live stream: bell peppers and beef. Right. We'll all have
That's
that to eat along with that.
I was just gonna eat mushrooms.
Hey. On a mushroom samba.
That leads to unexpected results.
Leads to frogs on the staircase.
Yep.
Who wants that?
Leads to being trapped in the bathroom.
Thank you all so much. This has been a great time as always. We'll be back next week with the final episode of Serial Experiments Lane.
Thank Christ.
And then followed by OnCon the following week. Have a great one. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Johnny,
¿Qué es tu papá?
mata hasta. Well, not tomorrow, but later.